So you're playing Genshin, you do a 10 pull, and you get 5-star Kinich. I don't know which way I should be pointing. I can't remember. Now, what do you get with Kinich besides Mualani's boyfriend? Well, Kinich is a Claymore-wielding Dendro user that has kind of revitalized Burning and Burgeon alongside Emily with Burning. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Kinich, the character alongside Emily, like I said, that has kind of brought the Burning reaction back into a spotlight. I say back into a spotlight. I don't think Burning was ever in a spotlight, but there's a spotlight on it now, right? With Emily, you can only do Burning. With Kinich, you can do Burgeon. So in this specific team behind me that's going on, we are using Emily. So we're going to be focusing more on the Burning, less on the Burgeon. Now, Kinich's normal attacks don't really do anything different. They have a really cool animation. Other than that, that's it. Now, you will be clicking the normal attack button when we are using his skill, but it is not considered normal attacks. So we're going to kind of just skip over the normal attacks. Now, what his skill is going to do is, alongside having an overworld movement like all the Natlan characters, copying the green dinosaur chicken thingy, it is going to shoot off this grapple hook and hook onto your enemy. Once you are hooked onto the enemy, you can then use normal attacks and kind of move around the enemy and build up his Night Soul's Blessing points. Whenever they are full, you can then hit the skill button, or E again, and it is going to do an enhanced skill shot. We're going to call it the spike cannon shot. That is going to do a ton of Dendro damage. Now, something else that you might notice is that once we have used his skill and gotten the grappling hook onto the enemy, we're going to have this kind of triangular cone shape that is irradiating from the enemy. This is called their blind spot. If you move Kinich into the blind spot using your A and D from the AJAW'S, then it is going to give him extra Night Soul points, making it quicker to achieve the amount that we need to then use his spike cannon with the skill. So we need to make sure that we are going into those blind spots once we are attached to the enemy to then build up the Night Soul's points that then lead to being able to do the enhanced skill shot. Something else is that if you use Kinich with Bennett and you put Benny's burst on the ground, you can use the A and D to kind of stay inside Bennett's burst, right? Because if we leave Bennett's burst for too long, we don't get the attack buff, and Kinich and Benny are so good together. So we want to make sure that we're kind of using the A and the D on AJAW'S, or on your phone, you're using your joystick to kind of move around but stay inside of Bennett's burst, especially whenever we're going to be using the spike cannon, because we really want that attack buff. Now, you might notice that we're only able to do like 2 of the spike cannons per each use of the skill. Well, this is where the burning reaction comes into play. If we look at Kinich's passive, the first one is going to increase the amount of Night Soul's Blessing points that he gets if you have a Burgeon or burning reaction going on around Kinich. This is how he uses the burning reaction, because with that going on, we can instead get like 2 of the spike cannons and get like 3 or 4 of them by using burning and using the blind spots to build up the Night Soul's Blessing points on Kinich. So we need to make sure that we're running him in a team that has burning or Burgeon. Like I said, because we do have Emily in this team, which is a phenomenal kind of partner to use with Kinich, we are going to be focusing solely on burning, not on Burgeon, because Emily wants the burning, not as much of the Burgeon. Now, her second passive also deals with his skill, but it's much more about the Night Soul's Burst, which again is just anytime somebody does damage with a Night Soul's character in the party, then it's going to kind of have a stacking mechanic with Kinich, where it's going to increase the amount of damage that that spike cannon does. Now, the only way to maximize this is to have multiple of the Natlan characters in this party. So it would probably be like Malwika would be needed in this, and then maybe Sheilin, but actually probably not, because you still need, like, Benny doesn't have enough pyro to do burning alone, which is why we kind of have Toma in there, but Malwika would. So it would have to be like Kinich, Emily, Malwika, Benny maybe. Then you could maybe get both stacks, because the more Natlan characters you have, it decreases the amount of time it takes to have a Night Soul's Blessing burst occur. Anyway, the more Night Soul's Blessings that you have, you can get up to 2 stacks. It's going to increase the amount of damage that the spike cannon does. That's it. It's just going to increase his own personal damage. Now, his burst is simply going to summon Aha, and it's just going to do Dendro damage. And if we use it while we're in the Night Soul's Blessing state, it's going to increase the amount of time that he can be in the Night Soul's Blessing state. But that's kind of it. It's just Dendro damage. It's kind of just to create the burning, and it's just another instance of damage. It's nothing major, right? All of his damage is going to come from his skill shot, mainly being that third spike cannon shot, right? Kind of like a Navia, where you have to get those crystallized reactions to increase her skill shot. Kinich is going to be similar. Kinich's main source of damage is going to come from that empowered skill shot. Now, I did kind of want to show Burgeon in the background. I know that we're mainly doing burning, but I did want to show Burgeon, right? So I'm not gonna, you could kind of take off Emily and put in like Xingqiu to do Burgeon reactions, but I'm just gonna hit these enemies that are standing in water to create the blooms that allow Toma to do the Burgeon. We would completely change the build on Toma if we were doing Burgeon instead of burning. You can do Kinich with Burgeon instead of burning. You would just take out Emily because Emily doesn't like Burgeon. She wants the burning aspect, not the Burgeon aspect. And again, Malwika would replace Toma and you would just do a full EM build on Malwika, right? So now we're gonna look at artifacts. Now in this video, I've been running a 2-piece because I don't have a 4-piece of his best set, which is going to be Obsidian Codex. Obsidian Codex is gonna increase the amount of damage that you do whenever you're in your Night Souls Blessings, which can only be used by Natlan characters. So it's not gonna work for anybody that's not from Natlan. But then the 4-piece is going to give you a 40% increase in your crit rate when you've used a Night Souls Blessing point. So you're going to get a ton of crit rate from this artifact set, right? It's going to give you more crit rate than Marshmallow Hunter, but again, it's only really usable by Natlan characters. So then we're going to be wanting to build a ton of crit damage because we're going to be getting a ton of crit rate from the artifact set alone. Kind of like how you would build Marshmallow Hunter, where if you have like 36 to 48% crit rate, once you get the extra stuff from Marshmallow Hunter, you're well within a respectable amount of crit rate, so you don't have to build more than that. And you can almost get that alone just from the weapon and like a couple of crit rate substats. You don't need a ton of crit rate substats. You can also do Deep Woods if you don't have another Deep Woods user in the team. Now Toma is my Deep Woods user in this team, so we don't need to have that on Kinich. You can also use something like Unfinished Reverie, which is the burning set that Emily likes. It's going to increase attack, and it's going to also increase the damage if you have a burning enemy around. It takes kind of away the Burgeon aspect, but it is for a burning team, you can use this one as well. If you're going to be running him in something like a Quicken team, then you can use Obsidian Codex again, or you're going to be using something like Gilded Dreams. Now for the artifact's main stats, you're going to be running an attack sands or EM if you're going to be doing him in a Quicken team, a Dendro Groblet, and then a crit rate or crit damage circlet, most likely a crit damage circlet if you have him on Obsidian Codex. Now for the weapons, in this video, I did have him on Serpent Spine, which is one of his best. Is what those little swords floating around him were. This is going to give him a ton of crit rate and an increase in damage. Right, so this is going to be a phenomenal weapon for him. Of course, his signature is going to be great, but then you also have Dia's signature if you happen to have it, Beacon of the Reed Sea, which is kind of just good on every single Claymore user. If you look at a Claymore user's best weapons, Beacon of the Reed Sea is almost always second or third. It's a phenomenal weapon. If you were able to get it either during its original run or during a Chronicle banner and you don't want to use it on Dia, it is phenomenal for every other Claymore user. Now you can also use something like Wolf's Gravestone. This is a standard weapon. You're not going to get its full utility unless you hit an enemy under 30% HP. So like in the Abyss against, single enemy boss fights, it's not going to be as great, but you can use it. Another option is going to be the Natlan craftable weapon, which is actually going to be his best free-to-play option. He's going to get up attack and skill damage, which is what he's doing, right? And also you can R5 it because it's craftable. If you have the Melazine cardboard sword, you can use that. It's going to get up energy recharge and attack. I would put this kind of further down the list. And then of course you can use Tidal Shadow, which is going to be Fontaine's craftable weapon. You just have to make sure that you heal him through something like Bennett's Burst, right? Then you can get the double attack buff. But the Natlan craftable weapon is going to be better than Tidal Shadow. Now Kinich is a character that I've actually been using more and more. I do love the burning reaction. I mean, you guys know I play niche teams, right? So I love the burning reaction. I love the reactions that don't get a ton of love. And I'm really, really happy that whenever Emily came out, burning kind of had a revamp, not necessarily like a rework, just being able to actually use it for something has been phenomenal, and I love it. And I really do like this team. Now I probably would take Toma out and put somebody else in there, maybe even Dia, but maybe not Dia. Actually having Toma in here as a Deep Woods user is really, really solid for Kinich because it gives him a shield, so it's going to be harder to kind of knock him out of his skill. That's going to allow him to do more damage. It's going to apply Pyro constantly and keep the enemies weaker to the Dendro, right, with Deep Wood. So it's actually a really, really good combination for like C6 Toma to go with Kinich and Emily. And Benny in there is just also really, really good because Kinich wants that attack buff. So I might continue to use it. I haven't done this Abyss, but I've heard that Kinich in this Abyss is actually really, really solid. So who knows? I might do the Abyss in a little bit and give Kinich a shot in there. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Kooky has green hair. I have purple hair. like Raiden, I guess. And I'll see you in the next one.